The NFL stands for not for long.
Set, Sharga and Armstead. Roll out, Walker still running out. Looks to the left, wide open, Thompson touchdown. Colin Thompson with the touchdown. There was nobody within 20 yards of
What a catch off the bobble. Colin Thompson scoops it up.
Lofting corner, the end zone. It is caught for the touchdown. The first NFL touch for Colin Thompson is a score.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Colin Thompson Show. Really appreciate everybody tuning in. Special episode today with Coach Dan Casey. First off, happy holidays to everyone. Hope everyone's doing great. First and foremost, thank you to our team at Not For Long Media and all our sponsors here at Not For Long Media, including the original Fudge Kitchen. Perfect holiday gift, perfect birthday gift, perfect New Year's gift. They'll ship the fudge right to you if you can't get that Jersey Shore fudge, that boardwalk fudge that we all love, and saltwater taffy and sweet treats. They'll ship it across the country. Just go to fudgekitchens.com. Let them know we sent you. Check it out, fudgekitchens.com. Shipping fudge and sweet treats across the country. Coach Dan Casey's joining us today. Dan is really a social media icon when it comes to change the world in football coaching. High school, college, professional, like we all send each other tweets now and Instagrams and pictures, and he's got, books and guides on different formation and different plays that have been in football forever. Like, it's so unique. It's what happened in the football world anyways, but no one was young enough, spry enough, innovative enough, if you will, to do this. And I mean, Dan breaks old school plays down a million different ways from a million different schools, puts it all together. And it's been a huge part of my mental development as a football mind, coach, player. I think you'll like it. If you're into football, you want to dive deep into the kind of nerdy part of football, understand some of the higher end language, or you're going to learn or ask questions, you can always reach out to me about anything on this show and I'll answer them for you. Or if I can, I'll ask Dan. Check him out at Dan Casey, at Coach Dan Casey, creative solutions for cutting edge coaches. Went to Davidson and Duke. He's a grad of both those places. And podcast at the Play Callers Club, Houston, Texas. Happy birthday, Dan. January 6th is coming up, buddy. We're getting old. I just turned 30. So listen, I appreciate everybody tuning in. Thanks to our friends at the Fudge Kitchen. Thanks to our friends at Wealth Advisory Services, the official wealth advisor of us here at Not For Long Media, and me, my friends around the NFL, coaches, my family, all people that I've got to know personally. And hey, who do I work with to kind of handle my situation here right now financially? I need some advice. I need some retirement advice. I need somewhere to put a little bit of my money away and help it grow. Oh, Paul, Dave, and their team at Wealth Advisory Services, over 100 years of experience in their office. Check them out, wealthadvisoryservices.com, located in Bucks County, Doylestown, Pennsylvania, Cape May, New Jersey, and they work with people across the country. I hope you guys enjoyed Coach Dan. He's a stud. Without further ado, Coach Dan Casey. All right, so we have Twitter, social media legend, Coach Dan Casey. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Appreciate you having me on.
I'm jacked to have you on. So you've changed the football world times a million. I'm sure you know that. People tell you that, but from an NFL tight end and a high school football coach, I'm going to tell you that because now everything I say, I can send to my coaches that I coach high school with and be like, can we run some sort of zone read, tight end bluff, RPO, stalk block, blah, blah, blah.
All of it.
And it counter, thank you. That's the play of the year.
No
Counter,
doubt.
right? Like, can we do this? And I can show it because now you have it. You put it on Twitter, which
No
is
doubt.
freaking genius. How? Why? How did this thing start, man? I mean, you have almost 100,000 followers and you're just posting stuff for football nerds like me and high school coaches and college coaches and NFL coaches watch it too. Everybody watched it. So
No doubt.
I'm tacked up to have Dan on if you guys can't tell because dude, you've been a huge part of my life. You don't even know it, but I send everything. I have like 4 different people I send your stuff to. So
man, I appreciate that for sure.
How?
Dude,
why? What happened?
I'm a football nerd at heart, I think. I mean, I love it. I do it in my free time already. And so I figured, why not share it? So honestly, this whole journey for me with kind of football plus social media really began when I was a high school coach in North Carolina, and I was the only coach on campus. So I was like, I don't really have anybody to talk football to. I can't go down to the history teacher's, classroom and get on the board or anything like that. So really, it just started from me wanting to talk football with people. And I mean, I've always loved, blogging, internet, writing online, doing kind of media type stuff. I was a liberal arts major in college, went to Davidson College, actually just north of Charlotte. And, so I've always kind of had that itch of loving to write, loving to research, and obviously loving football. And when I realized I wasn't good enough to keep playing after college, I was like, man, what can replace this? Like, what can kind of soak up my passion for the game? And coaching was definitely the first thing that came to mind. And so I figured, I'll probably just, be a GA or, go the typical route. And then I got a chance to be the head coach of a high school football team when I was 24. And so I just got thrown into the fire, man, and had to learn. And that's really what this whole process has been for me. It's just an evolution of learning the game, trying to figure it out. A lot of guys that I know have kind of learned from a more experienced coach along the way. Like, hey, I coached for this guy, so-and-so. I never really had that opportunity. I was kind of in charge right from the start. So I had to kind of piecemeal my way through football and really learn it from the ground up. And so I always wish there was a resource out there when I was trying to figure all this out. And so I just decided to start providing that resource for people.
It's insane because you've provided it, and then I think you've sped up the process of creativity, because now it's almost like a way for coaches to show that it's forced coaches to be more creative, I think. And you're going to find them and you're going to showcase them. Have you seen a little bit of that too? Like, hey man,
100%.
have you seen my new play? Check this out. People are tagging you in like some sort of counter RPO. That's new.
No, 100%. I get it all the time. And the cool thing is too, like to your point, like I think sometimes high school coaches maybe take themselves for granted a little bit, and in getting to know so many college and professional coaches, even like they're all looking for stuff too. They don't have this like wellspring of knowledge that they
pull it from wherever.
100%. And honestly, like one of my coaching heroes is Andy Reid, obviously, and he's constantly looking for stuff and pulling stuff from high school teams, and like he's not afraid to try anything. And I think that's part of the reason why people love playing in his offense so much, is because he's willing to try anything. And I think having that level of creativity and like continuing to learn even when you're 65, however many years old he is, it's like players feed off of that. They know if you're continuing to improve yourself as a coach, or if you're kind of staying stagnant and still running things you ran in the 80s. Like they know players know.
100%. Yeah. That's players are smart. Most players are want to know the why and the how
100%.
or something. There's some sort of question behind it. I'll never forget. I forget it was. I love Coach McAdoo. I think it's a bad rap publicly.
Oh, 100%.
He's great. And Mac has like a lot of great principles in the run game. And like, he's the purest form of like a high school football coach, like turned in the NFL. He always said, like, he starts his meeting off. He's so good with his unit meetings, like all some great intricacies, be serious, be funny. But like, he's like, listen, I'm just like a high school coach from like south of Pittsburgh, from a small town, who just can coach every position. And here I am as a coordinator in the NFL. He loved Mac, loved him, hate him when I was a rookie with the Giants. He mother effed me because I sucked, but I deserved it. And now I'm playing for him in Carolina, which was great. But he pulled a meeting up one time where it's a 2-point play or whatever it was. And it's like, all right, guys, we're gonna go back to 2013. It's App State versus whomever. I don't even know if it was those guys, but you're just like, this is great. And all the young guys are like looking at this like, oh my God. I'm like, that's my era of college football. I played from 12 to 16. I remember watching more probably from like 08 to 12 because I was getting recruited, right? So like from like 07 to like 2017, that's like my window. So I loved all that stuff, man. Where do you pull like some of your stuff from, or like who your favorite offenses, I should say? I mean, I probably could answer some of these questions, but I'm going to dial it up for our fans. Like, who are the 100%. Offenses that you watch and not you like that, this coach and this offense is going to provide entertainment for you?
Oh, for sure. No, that's such a great question. I feel like it's ever evolving, which is part of the reason I love football, right? It's like I spend all off season digging back through the previous season. And then right as I'm like kind of getting bored with football, the new season starts and all this new stuff comes. And I mean, I'm joking. I'd really never get bored of football, but because you can always go back to like the 1930s and realize that like everything Mike McDaniel's doing right now has happened in the past. And so, obviously like he's an easy one to draw from. And for me, starting off as a coach, I think you're trying to find your identity. And so I was like, hey, we're going to be spread, no huddle. That was big when I was playing. I played from similar to era to you, right? 2010 to 2014. So that was when Bryles was at Baylor and they were lighting it up. And obviously you had the Leach and the air raid. I actually played for Matt Mumme at Davidson. He's, son of Hal Mumme, kind of the father of the air raid. And so I was kind of steeped in that world a little bit. And so I figured, I'm taking over a high school team. We're going to run the spread. We're going to run air raid concepts. We're going to air it out. We're going to play up tempo. We did that for a couple of years, had some success, tried it with one group, and it totally didn't work with that group. And so, we had a down season by our standards. And so I was like, you know what? Screw it. We're running the spread triple. And so we scrapped everything. The COVID year, we actually ran the spread triple. It was like the most fun I've ever had coaching football.
And spread triple will be like, I think William and Mary runs it.
Yeah, they do some stuff. You'll probably think like Coastal Carolina when Jamie Chattel was there. He's with Liberty now. Actually, Davidson College runs the spread triple now. They're having some success in FCS.
You're talking like zone read, throw the bubble, zone read, run an orbit motion, flip it out to them.
More the orbit motion stuff.
Okay,
yeah,
so
jet sweeps.
Our fans listening, it's like shotgun.
Yes,
offset back. Right, could be pistol. I don't like pistol. I'm not a pistol fan. I think it limits. I think it limits you a lot
for sure
because the quarterback has to turn his hips and the whole nine. But pistols when the running back's right behind the quarterback, and shotgun. Look, for our fans listening, we're talking about spread triple, so spread offense. No real tight ends. Essentially, everyone's spread out, and they're kind of running a normal modern offense, but maybe they don't have the certain skill guys that drop it down the field.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's great. You could do so much. That's what we ran in our high school program I'm part of pretty much.
Totally.
Because you can do it with a lot of kids. You don't need like a great quarterback per se.
Exactly. Yeah. And so we were able to, convert a safety to quarterback. We were able to play with 3 running backs and, some of them were in the slot. We didn't really need like a big time receiver. We could kind of get away with some stuff. So had a great year there. And then from North Carolina, I transitioned down to Texas, and Texas high school football is pretty big time. And there's,
why'd you go there?
I came down here to Houston in 2021.
You're in Houston. Sweet.
Yeah.
Houston.
It is an awesome city. So much great football talent, so many great coaches. But, I was obviously like, man, I'm coming down to Houston. Like, what can we get done here with the talent we have? And obviously in Houston, like the quarterbacks are so good that a lot of times you are running more like spread or even not pro style, not in the sense of like getting under center, but more like pro style passing concepts. So I've definitely, dove into the NFL a lot more for kind of the spacing concepts, snag and, cross and all kinds of different things that I know happen at
all the play action stuff.
Yeah. Tons of play action, route, keepers. Yeah. All of it. So, that's the cool thing about football is, yeah, I definitely pull heavily from certain guys, but I think the more you study the game, you realize there's a lot of crossover and there are principles that are good kind of regardless of what kind of system you end up in. So that's why it's so fun to learn the game. You see the patterns reflect themselves in so many different types of offenses.
How really did you, how should I ask this? Like when you started this to what it is now, how's it evolved? This social media, not social media world, but in your world, like you see more people doing this stuff. What was it like when you started? Like, what were you posting to like what you're posting now?
Honestly, for me, it's hard. For me personally, it's hardly changed at all. I have a daily practice where I post 1 play a day. Like that's my minimum. And that was kind of like for me, I'm really good with like really clear objectives. And so for me, I was like, I want to learn the game of football, but you can't just learn it all in a year. Like that's the misnomer I think a lot of people have is like, I'll just study really hard and I'll learn football. It's like an ever evolving process. And so for me, it was like, I started off with like, okay, what do I like? And then I started posting things that I liked. And then I started posting things that I wasn't sure about. Like, I'm not really sure. Is this counter? Is this power? Like, I didn't really even know.
I love that.
I played defense in college.
Inside zone stuff.
Exactly. That's a big one. Duo or inside zone. And so I played DB in college. I was a high school quarterback DB in college. And so I wasn't like really schooled on like run schemes and pass protection and all that. And so it was really just like in posting one play a day, that means for me, I was searching through film every single day to find something that I thought would be interesting for people or interesting for myself first and foremost. And I just got a lot of feedback from coaches along the way of like, one thing I love about football coaches is they will correct you. So if you like put something out there and you're wrong, they'll immediately correct you. And, I think what makes a lot of people nervous is like, well, shoot, if I put stuff out there and I'm wrong, like people are going to think I'm an idiot. And for me, I'm like, shoot, that's the fastest way to learn is to just
And
put
that's
it out
football. That's what makes football great is
there. 100%.
in the normal world, yes. In social media world, when you make an opinion like I do, man, it's like a personal thing. But in football, like it's not personal.
Right.
Not. And that's why the sport's great. And it's taught you any sport, any kid listening, any parent listening, your kid should be playing sports, period. Whether they like them or not. My brother had to swim and he hated it, but he loved it because it teaches you so many things in life.
My goodness.
I mean, one thing that's come to my head a lot too, like the ability to talk to people that are like higher power you in like a respectable, organized way, like going to the coach about something you're upset about, or like that's been a big topic for me mentoring the kids I talk to now. It's like I gotta go talk to this coach about something. It's like, man, this is so good for when you
Great
work,
opportunity.
because in real life, people don't have these reps. If you don't play a sport, like talking to an elder or talking to someone who, you may disagree with, even though you may be right. I digress. I'm off the.
I love it.
The
No, I
rails.
love
So
it.
that's what football, means to me. Is it's like to give me the amazing life skills. So
No doubt.
okay, where do I go from here? Let's go. Favorite offensive coordinators in college. What do you like? What teams are you watching?
Oh man. I mean, I truly do watch a little bit of everything, but in terms of I'm watching every single snap. This year, honestly, I spent a lot of time in the Pac-12, Washington, Ryan Grubb, Kalen DeBoer. I've been a fan of Kalen DeBoer back to when he was at Indiana. He was doing some great stuff at Indiana, and I'm not necessarily looking for like, hey, who's in the the college football playoff. I'm looking for, man, who's having success on offense when they kind of shouldn't be having success on offense. And so when you see Indiana have a really efficient year on offense, you start to ask questions like, what are they doing? And so I was able to dig through that film. Obviously, he had Penix playing for him back then. They were just running some really sound concepts. And I was like, this guy's the real deal. And then he gets the head job at Fresno State. Tons of success at Fresno. Jake Hayner, they look great. Gets a job at Washington. Hey, the pattern repeats. And so I think that's what I try to encourage fans to look for more than anything is it's easy to look at like the win-loss record or the stats and say, so-and-so is a good coach and so-and-so is not. I'm always looking for who's like getting blood out of stone, like who is effective with some of the less prestigious programs and who's turning things around and who's effective on offense, even without certain, talented players on their roster. And so like, for example, in the NFL, it's like, yeah, the Giants are struggling this year, but like Mike Kafka is moving the football with a ragtag group of dudes out there. And so I obviously I love Mike and I think he's a really, really good football coach. And without injuries, they're a much better football team. But I'm always looking for those things. I'm looking for who can be effective when kind of the chips are down a little bit. I love watching Oregon play. I think Will Stein, he's a Texas guy, does a great job up there. Really multiple with their offense. They do a lot of fun stuff. But I love digging into all sorts of other levels too, right? Like Division II, Ferris State, like they run an awesome kind of, you can call it pistol. It's like a short pistol offense. They run a lot of jet sweeps, power reads, quarterback run game, just a lot of fun stuff. So it's like, I appreciate so many different styles of offense. There's, I know it's a cliche. There's so many ways to skin a cat, right? Like there's so many ways to move the football. You just got to find the one that's right for your program, your players, and your personality as a coach. Because not everybody can coach a certain style of offense. It has to mesh with kind of who you are to your core.
All right. So I live in Annapolis, Maryland. I live 100 yards from the Navy football stadium. Army has now moved on from the triple to some extent. They probably run a spread triple, right? A little bit.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, it's like spread QB run game, a little bit of option sprinkled in.
What you have to. The QB run game is
no
massive. Like if I'm a college football coach and I get into this world, I'm just recruiting. If you can't land the big dog who's going to rip it around the yard, I'm trying to find Tim Tebow.
100%.
Right. That's a less of a thrower and just destroy you with the QB run game and the bubble game and all that. But that's neither here nor there. What do you do at Navy? because Navy's in triple option. You can't cut anymore on the perimeter. Now,
That's
defensively,
brutal.
you
Yeah.
can't cut. It kills the triple, right? Because before you could run out there as a little back, right? The little wing back or whatever. He'd come around and just take out the corner. They would crack the safety and then pin and pull for the will, if you will, or the Sam. And they get the edge, and they just hit dive, and you think they're on the edge, right?
I know.
Everyone's knees are getting cut out. It's freaking miserable. We can't do that anymore. So you can't run the triple. Plus, they got to fit their asses in a plane in about 4 years and fly for the Navy.
It's hard, man.
It's hard. So my gut would be you got to run the spread triple option. That's what I would do. But there's a whole nother side of Navy too, where guys going professional. If you could recruit a couple decent wideouts, I think you could get some stuff done, and people actually have to guard the guys and respect them, but it's hard to get those guys. All right. You get hired in Navy, you're the OC tomorrow. What do you do?
Oh
tough.
man, I think you're right in the sense that I think you have to stay triple to a degree just because of the number advantages it gives you. Like you can get away with some stuff. I think going under center in the triple these days is difficult, and the main reason is because you're not getting the same kind of push you were getting up front. I think defenses have gotten. I mean, the reality is, like, with Navy playing in the AAC, like, there's some big D lines in that league, and they're getting beat up. Quarterbacks are getting beat up. Army is not getting beat up in the same way that Navy is throughout the course of the season, just because of the schedule. And so I think, going spread triple makes a little bit of sense, just because with going from the gun, you have a little bit more wiggle room on that read. The read happens slightly slower. So I don't know, man. I mean, I think the rules committee is really trying to kill the option. And it's sad to see because it's such a beautiful style of football. I mean, it's a brutal and beautiful style of football. Yeah. But I think you have to run the quarterback because you have to get +1 in the run game. And the downside of running the quarterback is quarterback's going to get injured. And so it's tough, man. I service academies right now, but I think what Air Force is doing right now with kind of a funky triple, but there's some weird like pro style stuff sprinkled in there too. That's kind of interesting. They run some power. They run a lot of counter. It's not just like the flex bone. So I think Troy Calhoun's done a good job there, and they're the service academy that's currently kind of having the most success, of the three, even though Army got them this year. But yeah, I don't know. It's tough, man. The service academy life is tough.
It's tough on recruiting. Their schedule is crazy. They can't eat as much as a normal offensive lineman in a normal school.
Right.
Much different situation there. It's funny, just to stay on that topic. Air Force was ranked this year. Navy almost beat them, and Army beat them. They have some bigger tight ends too. My buddy was a line coach. They got some big boys. They're all like 6'3", 6'4". Like, they don't grow in trees at academies like that. I think there's some size situation there. They can have a bigger player.
Sure. Yeah.
Also, you know what I heard? My uncle is a Navy guy. That anytime they fly, Air Force, which is a lot, unless they're playing like Colorado State, I'm assuming, it's a service. It's like a service mission because they own the planes.
Oh, there you go.
So they don't have to pay for travel.
Wow.
They get on like an AC-130, if you will. I don't know
Yeah.
the term. And my uncle's probably listening saying, it's this plane, you're wrong. I don't know the plane. But they get on it.
Legit.
And they'll have, pilots from the Air Force fly that for a training mission and drop them off. Army, it's a whole thing. But I heard that was very interesting. I thought that was a little tidbit.
That's cool. You got to find workarounds, man. You got to get creative. Maybe Navy has to hop on a boat and get to
go up to Philly. They can go up the C&D Canal and then it would take them forever, and they'd burn like $1 million in fuel. But
brutal.
What were your thoughts on the Army Navy game? I thought it was the Bill Belichick pregame stuff. The more we can get from Coach, the better. The more we can get, from my opinion, from Kurt Herbstreit and Pat McAfee, the better with him and that whole table. But what were your thoughts on Army Navy?
I mean, to a degree, it was kind of the end of an era, right? I mean, neither team. I mean, Navy's still kind of running the triple. Army obviously is doing some different things, and so it was kind of weird for me to see it because, again, mostly when I'm watching football games, I'm just looking at the offensive schemes. That's really what I'm
Me
doing
too.
more than anything.
Inside out, always start with the
Yeah,
tackle, O-line
yeah.
play, and then go out. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. So it was a little different for me. I know some guys on each staff, and so it was cool to kind of see them. It's the first time I've really gotten to watch just because either of those schools, just because I've been busy with other things this year. But I mean, obviously, I think it's an amazing game for the significance that it holds, kind of on a broader scale. And my brother-in-law is an Army Ranger. My brother's just graduated Ranger school, so I have some ties there for sure as well. And so it's hard not to root for Army in those situations,
Nice.
but also have a lot of respect for Navy and for particularly Ken Niumatalolo. And I'm, this has taken us back a little bit, but I'm still a little annoyed by how that all went down last year. I
Yep.
think he's one of the classiest dudes in the whole profession. And I don't think it was handled particularly well. Again, has nothing to do with the current staff, but I just thought he deserved a little bit better of a send off than what happened. So, it's an iconic game in America. I loved getting to hear from Bill Belichick. I would love at some point when he's ready to hang it up coaching wise for him to get on the air more and share some of his stories and perspective. I think he's as good as it gets.
Yeah, he is great, right? Like, is it because we don't know about him, or is he actually good with media? I think it's actually a little bit of both. Like, he tells a good story. He's right to the point. He's entertaining. Like, he was entertaining on that desk. I was like,
100%.
damn. I was like, this is sweet. He's like putting the helmet on.
Yes.
He killed it.
And
So
I think to a degree, it's like with him going through like the media stuff for his team and like press conferences and stuff. I think to a degree too, like he kind of plays into the persona of being standoffish and kind of like grumpy.
he's not like that in
and
real life, though.
no. But I think as an NFL coach, like you're answering the same questions over and over again from the same people. It's exhausting, I'm sure, after 20 years in the building. And so I'm sure for him, it's like he plays that up a little bit. But in terms of when somebody asks him like a truly intelligent question in a press conference setting, he'll go off for like 5 minutes with the most all-encompassing answer about
The
the game
history of the long snappers, the best one ever.
Unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
He's
right.
incredible, and his knowledge, his insight, he's a historian, and so it's just incredible.
He's a gift. He's truly a gift. I hope he comes back to Annapolis. He grew up here, and he coaches football and volunteers on the staff for something when he retires.
That would be awesome.
Probably will. He's a football lifer. He's never going to stop.
He's never going to stop coaching.
All right, so take me into this, Shanahan offense that is just now you're seeing it around the league, where the league was getting more into some spread in Kansas City and Philly and Matt Nagy in Chicago, and a little less, tight end, fullback, running back centric. And now you have the Niners, you have the Rams, you have the Vikings, you have the Dolphins. They all come from that same tree, if you will. The Jets, when Aaron was healthy. I think it's the prettiest form of offensive football. It allows different people, different personnel groupings to shine through. And I think it gives more players more opportunities to have involvement in an offense instead of like, this is our fullback or this is our tight end. Now you can have multiple guys doing multiple things, what they do well. Super impressed by those offenses, but what do you see by it that really impresses you the most?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's been in probably the last 5 or 6 years, you've heard the term pop up in defensive circles a lot that people are playing. They call it positionless defense. And the way I describe Shanahan's offense is it's really a positionless offense where you're having a lot of versatile players do a lot of different things within the structure of the offense. So, everybody looks at McCaffrey. Obviously, he's a great runner, great vision, physical, but his value in that offense is that he can catch the ball. He'll block on a perimeter screen. He'll lead block for stuff. Like he'll do a little bit of everything. The one that probably makes it tick more than anything is Kyle Juszczyk, who's the fullback. But again, he's got the tight end skill set, the running back skill set. Like he can catch the football, he can block, he's physical, he's tough. George Kittle can do it all. He's probably the best tight end in the league. Like
I think he is.
I mean,
For sure.
obviously you talk about Kelsey, like I almost put Kelsey in more of like a receiver category just
I think
because
he's a Hall of Fame wide receiver.
100%, 100%. And that's obviously no knock on him. I mean, he's incredible, but
Yeah.
George Kittle's like getting down in the run game. Like,
and then he's blocking power, and then he goes out wide and runs like a dig route. You're like,
it's
what?
incredible.
It's not even realistic. Like,
and Debo is a great receiver, but he's a running back too. I mean, he could easily carry the ball, 5-10 times and give you some real explosiveness there. And I think, I posted something the other week, or maybe it was this week, of Brandon Ayuk running downfield and blocking for McCaffrey. And, it kind of went viral on Twitter. All the coaches loved his effort. But I think that's what Kyle Shanahan and others have gotten buy-in on, is receivers blocking in the run game and it opening up opportunities for them in the pass game. And I think you first kind of saw that with McVay and Cooper Kupp, because Cooper Kupp, even though he's a receiver, they were able to basically be an 11.5 personnel with a tight end and Cooper Kupp, because Cooper was like strong enough at the point of attack to block on wide zone or cut off a defensive end.
Bring him across the formation on like
100%.
Like a slide block situation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so it's like, if you have guys that are willing, and I always tell like the coaches or the kids that I coach in high school, I'm like, willingness is a huge trait in an offensive football player. And they all kind of look at me funny because it's not like it's a kind of a soft skill or something, but it's like, hey, if you're willing to stick your nose in there as a receiver, you're probably going to get a lot of reps. Like if you're willing to block, if you're willing to get out there on perimeter screens and smack somebody and stay with it, like you have value there. And so, I think it's more than anything, it's the buy-in, right? It's like, these guys are not saying, on the X receiver, I sit out here on the left and I run, vertical routes and I never cross the middle of the field. Like, everybody's willing to do everything. And so
I care for my teammates. That's the bottom line for me.
Period.
Like, we have some team meetings and virtual stuff with the high school team I've been a part of. The DK Metcalf running down that play where he hawks somebody, whoever it
unbelievable.
was. And I sent to 3 of our kids that I mentor your tweet from Brett Coleman, who's been on my show too. I love Brett. You guys are both great.
Totally.
And I sent it. I tweeted. I commented too. I said, let's see what I said. And you pumped me up. I got 44,000 views off.
There you go.
1,000 likes. I'll take it.
Incredible.
How many running backs actually turn around and acknowledge that, like a goal scorer after a big assist? Like, you see
incredible.
in hockey, right? Or in soccer, they're like, great job. That's C-Mac. I play with him. I talk about him all the time. I'm sure my listeners are sick of hearing it, but I play with him, and he's the one superstar I play with, probably other than Brian Burns or DJ Moore, that I was close with Christian. So
totally. And that's key too. Like we jokingly called it this past year with our receiver room. We called it I know it's technically a hockey assist, but we would say you got a hockey stick if you blocked on a scoring play or like an explosive. And so they were kind of competing to get their hockey stick for the game. And so it's like, I think just little things like that from a culture standpoint is, we do care about our teammates. We're going to celebrate that block as much as we celebrate the touchdown, if not more, probably more from a coach's perspective.
You have to. And the 100%, there's so much to unpack there as we were up here. Like, it's just, I care for my teammates, no matter how tired you are. If you're worried about like just doing my job because it's the right thing to do for my teammates, like, you always do it. I always found that gave me the energy and the strength to do it in my tiredest, weakest moments. All right, as we wrap here, what's next for you, man? What opportunities is this thing giving you? Like, are people like DMing you like, hey, do you want a job? Like, what? Like, because
those things have come up over the years for sure. But I think for me, the biggest thing is just connections, man. I mean, you just get to know so many people along the way, so many incredible coaches and people that are just as obsessed with it as I am. And so, I think for me, it's, just continuing to do what I do and kind of work into those passions as much as I can and just connect with other people that are similar and like-minded along the way. And, so for me, it's kind of open-ended in terms of, I don't know exactly what the future holds for me, but I've just seen the reward, the relational reward along the way of just connecting with people that have that shared passion and enthusiasm for the sport. And it's gotten me the opportunity to have so many conversations that I never dreamed of. And so it's pretty awesome, man. I love the game, love all the people associated with it. And I truly do believe that football is the greatest sport in the world. And the reason I say that is not just because the schemes and all that. It's any kid from any walk of life, any body size can come play the sport. Like there's space for everybody. And when I was in high school, I ended up going to 3 different high schools in 3 years. And so I was the new kid 3 times, sophomore, junior, and senior year. And well, I guess freshman, junior, and senior year. And because of football, I walked in on the first day of class with, 60 friends. And so I will always love football because it always made me feel like I belonged, even if I was the new kid moving from, 5 states away. I got to come in and play football and prove yourself really quick. It's like, is he about it or not? And, if you prove you're about it, that locker room will embrace you 100%.
It's a community sport too, right? Like those parents of those kids see you out, they make sure you're good. They say hi, right? Offer you a
100%.
ride. They take you to pay for dinner, your pizza, whatever. That's community stuff. That's what makes it wonderful. Listen, man, I can't thank you enough for coming on. I'm a huge fan of what you do. I want to have you on as we get into the playoffs here a little bit, maybe get you back on.
Would love to, man. We'll definitely do it again.
It'd be great for our listeners to know what to expect.
No doubt, man. Appreciate you having me on. This is fun.
Thanks, Ben. Talk soon.